So after a very hot and sweaty night sleeping in the tent in a 30-degree heat, we woke up early to watch the sunrise at Lake Assal. And as we walk amongst the chimneys, which are dead coral reef, when this place used to be at the bottom of the sea, we see these hot springs. Now the water that's coming from here is 105 degrees, which means you could boil eggs in here. But unfortunately we didn't bring any eggs, so I didn't get to put that theory to the test. This place is just as beautiful in the morning as it was the night before. Now Djibouti sits at the meeting point of three tectonic plates: the Somali plate, the Arabian plate, and the African plate. And Lake Assal is one of only two bodies of water in the country. But you won't see any fishing boats here because fish don't live here. And although it's out of season, flamingos do come by here. But unfortunately I miss those. I was looking forward to going back across the country, in which I'd seen so much of the day before, and seeing it from a slightly different perspective, early in the morning, where animals could come out and experience a slightly cooler version of Djibouti. And they're going for their morning runs, getting their steps in before they go to work.
What is this? Natural? Broccoli.
Broccoli, yeah. Now, despite what you might have just heard, this isn't Djiboutian broccoli. This is actually a coral graveyard. So supposedly, during the time of Noah's Ark and the flood, this area would have been under the sea. And since then, when the seas have receded, all that's left is the dead coral as chimneys. Which makes a perfect place to do some modelling, and I'm available for inquiries, as is Hassan, the driver, looking very fetching in that pose. So after doing our model shoot and sampling the chimney broccoli, we started heading back towards Lac Assal, which is the other side of the country. But we were enjoying seeing the animals, who are embracing the cooler temperatures in the morning, all getting their exercise in. Camels were having their morning meeting, discussing business for the day. I believe it was a Wednesday, also known as Hump Day. Now what you see here is a bearer antelope, which is unique to the Horn of Africa and is found in Djibouti and Somaliland and northern Somalia. And we even came across a couple of ostriches and another baby bearer. One thing you can't avoid but to notice is that there are goats everywhere. Where there are people, there are goats, and where there are bits of bush and tree and shrub to eat, there are goats. There are just goats everywhere, and they're rather adorable. Sometimes you see them literally on top of the tree, eating down on it. But goats are an integral part of life here, and you're always having to move out the way so they don't hit one. And we came across this traffic jam of trucks heading towards Ethiopia. Some of the roads are good around Djibouti city, but the rest of the roads are very challenging to drive on. I can only imagine how difficult it is to drive one of these, and if there's an accident, the challenges it can cause everyone else behind them. I'm horny, 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 horny. And this stunning view is the Afar Triple Junction, which is the meeting place of the African plate, the Arabian plate, and the Somalian plate. An amazing place to take photos of our model driver. And I try to do an Assassin's Creed pose on the edge, but with my butt creeping out, we've got Joe's booty in Djibouti. But we managed to get our model on one more time. After that, we went to Lake Gubay. So this is where you can swim with whale sharks when it's in the season, which is November to March time. Unfortunately, I missed that, so I'll definitely have to return to swim with the whale sharks. When I was recording around Lake Gubay, I noticed just how windy it was, so it made complete sense when we drove a little bit further to find this wind farm. Once we had passed the wind farm, we began to approach Lac Assal, which is the lowest point on land in Africa, and it's the third lowest point on Earth after the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. Lac Assal is also the second saltiest lake in the world. And what you're seeing there in the distance is an industrial salt plant that is Chinese funded, where large salt deposits are being mined right on the edge of Lac Assal. When we got closer to Lac Assal, you could feel the pressure in your sinus and your head as we got lower to the surface of the earth. You almost felt the need to equalize as if you were scuba diving. So here I was at Lac Assal, on 80 meters thick of salt, a place where trade used to be conducted when salt was used as currency. couldn't have asked for a better introduction to Djibouti. I'd seen some incredible landmarks from Lake Abbey to Lac Assal, and I'd also seen the Afar Triple Junction. Djibouti is an incredibly unique place with a very harsh and rugged landscape where people find a way to make their lives despite the incredible heat and dryness. And I couldn't have done it without Abdallah and Hassan. I want to say a big thank you to both of you, and I hope you enjoy your Hartlepool United shirts. If you don't know much about them as a club, trust me, they're better than Manchester United. I had already seen so much, and I'd also seen how much influence Chinese development and infrastructure had already helped this country so far. Now it was time to look on the northern side of the Gulf at Djibouti. When I told people about my upcoming trip to Djibouti, not everyone had even heard of Djibouti, and for those who had heard of it, they didn't know much about it. They may have known that it's the only place in the world where both China and the USA have a military base, that it's the only permanent US military base in Africa, and that it was the first foreign country where China had a military base, and that is used as a geostrategic place for protection of trade in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. But as I wasn't allowed to film in military bases, I decided I would explore another unknown part of Djibouti, which is its beautiful beaches. So I took a trip to Djibouti to see Sable Blanc and see another place full of lovely, lovely goats. Adorable. And this boat that I was taking to the beach was actually a fishing boat, and it stunk of fish blood. But hey ho, let's go. Sable Blanc as a beach is as good as anywhere I've been in the world, and what was nice is it wasn't full of tourists like me. And although the car had a puncture, there's definitely worse places to have broken down. Sadly, my time in Djibouti was nearing an end, but I had time for one more adventure, and this time I was venturing out to an island called Mascali, which is just off a bigger island called Mucha, which I didn't get to visit on this occasion, but definitely in my next trip to Djibouti, I'm going to go to Mucha as well as swim with the whale sharks. I wish I brought flip-flops because my feet were absolutely ruined walking on this hot sand, but also quite thorny shrub that was on the beach. And this 360 was nearly perfect until I went sideways. But you can see it's a very thin sliver of island, but very remote and idyllic.
Your body a miracle, oh baby a miracle, oh my done before. Rio to kata, kasema tufiki mbele, sasa tumekipata.
You were about to recommend me that.
Djibouti, home of beautiful islands and beaches, where you can swim with turtles and whale sharks. Just make sure you pack your flip-flops and your sun cream. Driving through Djibouti city at night, you can really see the French influence with the French architecture in Djibouti city, which harks back to the colonial history of this place. Now I have to be honest, Djibouti isn't really set up for tourism and wanderers like myself. It's a place where you'll find expats, people who are serving or who have served in the military, or people who are here to conduct trade and business in this region. It's one of the few places in this region where you can find partnership and security for all of your interests. And what I'm seeing is a place in great transition, getting influence and investment from the likes of China, developing smart cities like this, or new railways and trade links for the likes of Djibouti and Ethiopia, to help send trade both ways. And you're seeing a growth of affluence in the partners of these investing countries. But you also see those who live in traditional ways in the very harsh environments. People who are embracing what's modern, and then some people who are very much in tune with their traditions. So I believe if I visited Djibouti again in the future, it would be a very different place. In 10 years' time, I believe with the investment and the influence of foreign nations such as China, Djibouti will be one of the most modern and affluent places in Africa, but yet still will have people who live very traditionally in the most difficult environments in the world. But it's a special place, and one I would love to go back to, and I appreciate all the hospitality and help I've had along my journey.
الليلة بالليل نمشي شارع النيل قهوة بمزاج انت السكر بالليل نمشي شارع النيل والمحبة تسيل على بعضنا نميل نشرب الجبنة البخور تقيل يلا نمشي هناك ويلا شارع النيل يلا يا زولي هناك نجدد هوا
الليلة بالليل نمشي شارع النيل
أنا وإنت سوا
قهوة بمزاج
الليلة
انت السكر
وابقى ليك دوا الليلة بهناك في محل يوم داك حلو شارع النيل وحلو بس معاه نشرب الشيريا لا شيشة لا جراك نقضي يومنا هناك.
And along my journey in Djibouti, it was impossible to ignore the influence that China was having on Djibouti. So much has changed, and so much of that change China is responsible for, in terms of infrastructure such as the railway between Djibouti and Ethiopia, investments in the ports, and the smart city. China is really stepping up its game in this region, and in an era of trade tariffs between the United States of America, it looks like China is set to grow its influence in the region.
يا سبب سهري مقلل نومي لو أبيت تمشي برمي لك لون